unstable. I feel able to turn the tables, I could do this. Just keep moving, keep your hands up, stupid. I feel lucid, a new viewing. I can see the end, I can see my future, I can view it. It's right there for the taking. Everything I've ever wanted, dreams are just waiting. I just gotta fight for it, willing to die for it, willing to like sort of.
Hey, greetings from the year 3000, it still sucks. This is Philip J. Price, and you're listening to the Drunken Turkey Show, your one stop for this sort of thing. Hit that button, like and subscribe. You know what to do, just like every other podcast.
You guys know what to do, just like every other podcast. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the DT Show. We got an excellent show planned out for you guys tonight. Tonight, I'll be interviewing Daniel Martell, the stepfather for Jack and Lilly Sullivan, the two missing young children out in Nova Scotia in Canada. They went missing back in May of this year, and there's been some new developments here recently. Some cadaver dogs have been in the area searching the location and the property and the surrounding areas of where they believe and suspect the kids may have wandered off to. And unfortunately, it seems like, or fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you want to look at it, nothing was found from what I understand, but they are still out there looking. I'm not sure if the cadaver dogs are still in the area, but I know that they're still haven't given up the search for Jack and Lilly. But we do interview Daniel Martell. I want you guys to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, ring the notification bell. Mods, I might need all hands on deck on this one. Let's be civilized, guys. I've been here recently seeing a lot of people in the comment section saying something to the effect about, one side not letting the other people have an opinion. For one, I have a very small opinion about this case. I'm still very much open-minded about what's going on in this case. And two, whether you agree with me or not, if you're going to be rude to either myself, the guest, or other folks in the comment section, then that's what's going to happen. You're going to get blocked. So let's keep it respectful. Let's keep it high level. If you have a difference of an opinion and you want to ask a question or say something of that nature, more than welcome to do so. 100%. Just keep it civil. Keep it high level. Let's be adults. I graduated from high school a few decades ago. I hope everybody who has can keep it can act accordingly and not act like they're in high school anymore. Well, anyways, without further ado, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the interview in its entirety, and then at the end of the interview, I'm going to come back on and I'll answer a few questions. But before, I do want to clarify a few things. There's a few things I do want to clarify. One of the things is that I've also seen in the comment section things about because I dropped a clip and it was talking about the trash bag and how a piece of blanket was there. And Daniel has his suspicions, just like everybody else does. Right now that I don't know if his suspicions are correct or not. He has some valid points when him and I are talking, but he's very close to this. So keep that in mind. And two, like a lot of people were saying, somebody who pulled out the blanket out of the bag. Well, there's only a few people that would have known that the blanket was in there. If this was a double bag or a black bag, not a clear bag, how did the person that took the blanket out of the bag know that there was a blanket in there? My response is, how do we know that they knew that the blanket was in the bag? I mean, we're making an assumption there that the person that ripped, if it was a person, I talked to Daniel, asked him how long the trash bag was in the garbage bin, and he said it was in there for over a week. So it could have been torn into by an animal, by a raccoon, by another person. And it could have happened at any point. And even if it was somewhat a part of this crime, if there is a crime, then we have to also understand that there's a good possibility that the person, let's just say, hypothetically, if somebody wandered onto the property and was a thief and was looking through things to steal, to sell, or whatever, and he opens up the trash can, or she opens up the trash can and sees a bag, open it up, pull something out, and it's the blanket. Maybe they hear the kids at that point rip a piece of the blanket off, go around the corner and there's something there. I mean, I'm not 100% bought on that. I'm not even 50% bought on that. But I'm just saying, like, if we wanted to kind of talk it out a little bit about the possibilities there, they don't necessarily need to know that that's what was in there when they tore the blanket. It just may have been what was there when they pulled it out. So the other thing is, I know a lot of people are going to jump to like a lot of conclusions. What I ask of you to do is just to keep an open mind and listen to the entire segment. Like, for instance, there's this part of the story that we're going to talk about where when he arrived back home, where he parked and what vehicle he was using. And I asked him if law enforcement searched the vehicle, and he said no. Now, I did some deepening questions and figured out that the vehicle that he had drove back in belonged to Malaya. Malaya had left him shortly after this whole ordeal had occurred, and that the vehicle was towed, and that he has no idea whether or not that vehicle was towed or not. So those things are going to happen in this interview. Just keep that in mind, that let's listen to everything and not jump to a conclusion. And maybe perhaps some of us won't put our foots in our mouth. But without further ado, I'm going to bring up the interview now. Please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, ring that notification bell. You guys know what to do. And here it is. Everybody, welcome to the show. Daniel Martell, the stepfather for Lilly and Jack. Welcome, Daniel. How are you doing, my man? How's it going?
I'm still staying strong there, Daniel. I mean, every day is a new day.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I know there's been some activity recently. There's been some dogs in the area. They've been doing some searches. I know that that has been on your property. They looked at your property. So I know that there's still movement in the case. Right now, are you confident in where the investigation is going?
Um, it's a little bit different from my point of view versus, the public eye. But right now, I'm fairly happy with what they're doing. I mean, they're pulling out all the stops. I mean, cadaver dogs took a long, or human remains dogs took a long time to come in, but I mean, everything's falling into place like it should. It's
Yeah.
just the amount of time that's passed. It's just, for some people, it's not fast enough.
Yeah, no, I understand. It's a sad situation. Jack and Lily went missing in May. I couldn't imagine how you guys were feeling in the moment of having the kids missing, and then somewhat like the entire world turning against you. How has that been for you guys? Has it kind of calmed down? Has things gotten worse here recently?
No, Daniel, it never calms down. Some of those Facebook groups, they're absolutely relentless every day.
Yeah, and I mean, it appears to me, at least, when I look through the RCMP documents, I look at what the investigators have done and what they have said flat out, that sounds like they've cleared you guys. Have they told you guys that specifically, that they do not believe you guys are suspects?
Um, I don't know if I should say this or not, but they came out and told me and mom privately, like probably almost 3 months ago now, that we know that you guys had nothing to do with it, and we know that you guys have no involvement with the disappearance.
Yeah. Well,
And it wasn't just one investigator that told us; it was multiple different times privately. So it wasn't just one investigator out of the blue that said it.
and has it always been that way, or was there a moment, maybe perhaps in the beginning, where you felt that that wasn't the case? Maybe perhaps their eyes were on you.
I'm not sure. I think for the first month they were pretty dead set that we need to investigate Daniel a lot.
Mhm.
I mean, with the amount of interrogations I did, and with the sheer amount of, well, I mean, I was pretty upfront with everything. I was cooperative with everything, so it kind of made it easier for them too, right? They didn't have to get any warrants. They didn't have to dig for anything. I mean, I handed them my phone. I asked for the polygraphs. I asked for everything.
Yeah, I mean, usually when somebody cooperates as much as you guys have,
Yeah.
and law enforcement is looking into it, if they're looking at you guys as some form of suspect, and if you're looking at somebody hard enough and you're pulling all the stops and you're not finding something, that's usually because something else
Mhm.
happened there. So, let's back up. Let's go and start from the beginning. The kids missed school before their disappearance. A lot of people were looking at that in a suspicious manner. I know that they were seen on camera the day before they disappeared. So the fact that they were missing, as as weird as it was, as far as the timing goes, Doesn't necessarily mean something nefarious happened, but tell us why weren't they in class?
Well, I know Wednesday they had what they call a PE day, which is kind of like an in service,
Mhm.
and so no children attended the school that day. And then on Thursday, Lily had a cough, and I really didn't know if Malaya was going to keep them home for Friday, but kind of turns out that she did. And when I woke up that morning, like I wasn't expecting the kids to be home. I seen Lily poke her head into the room a couple times that morning,
Yeah.
and she didn't have a cough. She wasn't sick, not like the day before. So, I wouldn't really have kept them home because they were kept home a lot because they were sick a lot during the school year. But
Allergies, or is this like what's
no,
going on?
they just had low immune systems, Daniel.
Okay.
I mean, the for like the first, I don't know, like 11 weeks of school, they were sick each week. Not they brought home COVID and stuff like that. Well, but you can't expect a kid to be perfectly healthy when they're hanging out with other children, right?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And so she, it sounds like she was pretty bad the day before she went missing on Thursday.
Yeah, she did have it. She did have a cough, but I was never expecting Malaya to keep them home for both days.
And so that was Malaya's decision then to keep
Yeah,
them
of course.
home.
She woke up that morning on the morning of the disappearance and marked Jack and Lily both as absent at 6:17 and 6:18 a.m.
Good deal. And so the last time that they're seen is on camera the day before. What happened the night after they're seen on camera? What was that night like?
The night they were seen on camera, they were seen on Thursday. They were seen at Dollarama, and then we went to Acropole. We got some food and then brought it home. When we got home, it was a little bit before 4 o'clock, and I went outside and I helped mom work on the fence. Took me a little while to find all my tools and stuff, but then after I got my drill and everything else, and I helped mom work on the fence for quite a few hours until it was just coming on to dark. And then after it was dark, I came back inside. What I remember, the kids were sleeping, but when you're looking back in time, Daniel, it's hard to kind of remember everything and get a feeling for how the night really was because it just seemed like a normal night, right? When I came inside, I thought the kids were sleeping, and I could have swore they were sleeping. But it says in the documents that she had them up till 9 or 10 at night. I don't
Mhm.
remember them being up that late, so I'll tell you that.
Were you looking at your phone or your watch at what time it was every few
Yeah,
minutes?
I mean, I got a watch on my arm the whole time, and I never look at it, man. I'm always grabbing for my phone.
It's not uncommon unless you're like something specifically happens and you look at the time at that specific time. I know a lot of people are looking at certain times where I think they were asleep by 9:30 and documents say 10 and like, oh my God, there's 30 minutes here that
Yeah,
it's a little bit of a wild expectation for people to expect to remember things, especially on, like you mentioned, on a night that was pretty normal. But that night, what time did you go to bed?
I went to bed actually a lot later than Malaya did. I think like Malaya was already asleep when I came into bed. I remember flicking on the light for the kids at 12 at night, or a little bit after 12, so a little bit after midnight, and both of the kids were fast asleep under the covers. So, but I never get a chance to see what clothing they were wearing because the blankets were up on them, right?
Did you see the backpack?
I don't remember the backpack, the strawberry backpack, but that was always in Lily's room, right?
Okay.
Like
And so
that was always in Lily's room. Like she never took it out of there, right? That was her backpack for. It wasn't a school backpack. I know a lot of people think that, but
yeah.
she actually had a pink LOL doll, like for school, and that was her. And the backpack she ended up taking was the one that we bought for when she took to her grandmother's, right? Which would be Cindy Murray.
So when she goes on trips, this was the backpack for trips.
Yeah. She didn't take her school backpack. She took her one that she takes on trips.
Interesting.
Trips or overnight trips or to go to visit, she would use that backpack.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And so what's the layout of the house look like? So
Well, the layout of the house is we have the bedroom at the very end,
okay.
and then we have Lily and Jack's room and my other kid's bedroom, and the bathroom, and the kitchen and the living room.
Okay. Now, how many
So
bedrooms is that?
3 bedroom.
3 bedrooms.
Yep.
And I know some people have asked, like, Lily and Jack, they shared a bedroom. Was there a reason why one wasn't in one room and one wasn't in the other?
Well, my other kids are in the other bedroom. It really didn't matter if but I know my daughter Raina and Arlo, they like to be in the same bedroom and they like to play together, right?
Yeah.
So, and it was different. It was a lot different from my other two kids, not having any other kids involved with me and being a family before
Right.
this, right? So it was kind of new to them. It was kind of new to Lily and Jack as well, especially with the new baby coming in too. So
Yeah.
it was a little bit different for everybody.
And so, yeah, your other children, they weren't there that night, correct?
No, they weren't. They were there the weekend prior.
So relative to where Jack and Lily's bedroom is to where you guys sleep, how close is that? Is that
Yeah,
like
it's actually
y'all
the next
share a
bedroom.
wall?
It's actually the next bedroom over.
And you guys mentioned that you guys could hear them throughout the morning. Is that correct?
Yes, I actually did hear. I know when it says in the documents that we heard them in the next room over, like in their bedroom. I didn't hear them in their bedroom.
Where
I
did you hear
heard
them?
when Lily would pop in. I heard Jack in the kitchen.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I
And
heard him. I heard him rustling around in the kitchen, right?
yeah,
And but then when me and Malaya made our way out to the kitchen, um, there was nothing moved. The chairs were still perfectly in place. Um, there was no chairs pulled up against the counter for them to, usually would jump up and take food if they wanted, because kids always do that, right? They would
yeah.
go into the fridge. They would go into the other pantry and grab food if they wanted. Like they had unlimited food if they wanted to grab it.
Interesting.
And they would go into the fridge, take yogurt cups and eat them or cereal or whatever.
Mhm.
So,
At
but
any
nothing was
point,
moved, Daniel. Nothing was moved.
and now they're being loud-ish. You mean loud enough for you guys to hear them?
Yeah.
Your other daughter Meadow, she was there though, right?
Yeah, she was actually laying beside me with Malaya.
Did you guys ever, or did Malaya ever tell the kids to be quiet? Were they ever waking up Meadow at any point with their noise?
In that morning, no. But when Lily poked in, I did go shh. Like when she would come in the room because she always woke up Meadow. Same with Jack, but I mean that's what kids do too, right?
Yeah, yeah. And so, uh, you know, some folks are saying that they may have walked out the back sliding glass door. That seems like the only logical explanation for them to have exited the house. You had something on the front door, correct?
Yeah, on the front porch, there's the front porch door, and then there's the inner door on the front. And I know for 100% they did not go out through that door. So because when I went and got the keys and tried to come back into the house, couldn't get into the front door. Right, I had to go around from the back, and then I went out through the front door.
Gotcha.
So that's how I know they did not exit through the front. They exited out through the back sliding glass door.
Now, I've read in the documents that Malaya said something to the effect that the kids didn't always close the door behind them when they went outside. It kind of made it seem like there was times that they did. Is that accurate, or was that something that when they went outside they
I
just
mean, the percentage that they would actually close the door behind them,
uh-huh.
it's very minimal.
But they have done it in
So
the past, though, correct?
it's usually, I mean, Daniel, even I don't close the door all the way sometimes.
Oh, okay. And so it was all the way shut.
Yeah, it was all the way shut. I mean, fully all the way shut.
That is weird.
So,
Yeah,
and
'cause
and some of the investigators, when they were here, they came all the way down to the bedroom, sat on the bed, and we had a dead quiet. And they tried to open up the door. Well, I think it was Mom who went out there and opened and just closed the door, and you couldn't hear it from inside the bedroom, sitting on the bed with the bedroom door shut.
yeah.
So
Is the door heavy?
it is heavy, but when the kids got their hands on it, they would have to put both hands on it and they could slide it closed.
Okay.
So it is
Now,
possible for them to close it. They just need to, work at closing it.
so you wake up because there's been some time that you guys haven't heard the kids anymore, correct?
I woke up when Malaya woke me up. I'm pretty sure it was her who woke me up because we both kind of like woke up at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember her saying, as it says in the documents, she said, "I don't hear them." But the craziest thing was when I woke up, it was in the first 5 seconds that she said, "I don't hear them."
Okay.
And usually you would have to wait a couple you know what I mean? Or like 30 seconds or something like that, because it could be in the fridge, because that's usually what everything goes quiet when they're, grabbing food or doing something, right?
Yeah. And so she wakes you up. Would you have
Well, I
noticed
think she woke me up, right? We kind of woke up at the same time, but I really don't know.
would you have noticed if she got out of bed?
No, I would have been sleeping. I would have been sleeping. I didn't even know she called the kids in absent until I got the email on my phone.
Well, I mean, you woke up when Lily popped her head in, right? So you were at
Yes,
least in
yes, I
and
did.
out.
Because there's a lock on the door, right?
Yeah.
And I heard like the lock rattle.
So do you think though that in the time that Lily popped her head in, and that woke you up, it alerted you a little bit, and the time that you fully woke up, do you think you would have been able to would you have the ability to tell whether or not Malaya got out of bed?
I don't know. Do you want to say that over again for me so I get I was just
Yeah.
plugging in my phone, so I didn't hear you correctly.
No problem. So if you already have been woken up, Lily's popping in, so you've already woken up to a certain extent, maybe not fully awakened, but you've woken up to the point where you've acknowledged that the child has come in and out. Do you think in that moment, maybe not earlier, maybe not early in the morning, but from the moment that you were awoken, from the time that Lily popped her head in to the time that you were fully awake, do you think that Malaya could have gotten out of bed without you noticing?
I think she could have, but you have to remember too, the baby was laying on her arm as well.
Oh,
So,
okay.
like the baby was sleeping on top of her right arm.
So it's unlikely that she got out of bed.
It is. I mean, it's unlikely, but it is possible. I mean, anything's possible. But I don't. I think Meadow may have be woken up when she's actually moving.
Gotcha. And
But it is
so,
possible, Daniel. I mean, anything's possible. This case is just an absolute circus, so anything's
yeah.
possible.
And so, so she wakes up. You wake up. What's the first thing that you do?
First thing I do when I wake up is, I mean, Malaya's right beside me, and she says, "You like hear the kids?" And then I listen for a few seconds. I said, "No, I don't hear them." So first thing I do is when I don't hear them, I get up and I, get dressed, you know, and me and her make our way out to the kitchen. And this thing I still find odd to this day, I told investigators this, is Malaya didn't look in Jack and Lily's room when we went up, when we walked to the kitchen, right?
Okay.
So I found that odd because we both walked up together up the hallway to the kitchen. And then I poked my head I looked into the living room, didn't see the kids. I ran back to the room, looked underneath their beds and stuff, didn't see them. So then we made our way outside, right? Malaya stood in the kitchen when I was running like a moron through the house looking for the kids. And we made our way outside. We got through the fence, and then we're standing right in front of Mom's RV. And she asked me, "Should I call 911?" Right? That's kind of instinctual. You want to do that, right?
Right.
Because we don't hear them out in the yard. We never seen them in the house. We don't see them in the backyard. I didn't know if Mom was even home or not, right? Because I thought she might have went with my Uncle Ron.
Mm-hmm.
So she's on the phone with 911. I run up into the woods where the cabins are and look in the cabins, look around the area. Didn't see them. I'm screaming and yelling, "Lily and Jack, Lily and Jack, Lily and Jack." And then I make my way down. There's a hill behind Mom's RV. I make my way down, and Malaya's standing there. I'm not sure if she's still on the phone with 911. She might have been on speakerphone. Kind of looks like she was messaging, but she might have been on speakerphone with the dispatch. And so I say, I'm jumping in the car. So I ran inside. I tried to go into the front door. Door's locked. Ran through the back door, the back sliding door, got into the house, grabbed the keys off the end table, because there was 2 sets of keys, right? And then I didn't take my phone. Well, I don't remember taking my phone because there's no service out there anyway, not like I can use it. So I left my phone on the end table. I'm pretty sure I left it on the end table. Investigators would know that for 100%. So grab the keys, ran out to the Nissan Pathfinder, and that's when I started to search the dirt roads and the culverts, right? So I went up Lansdowne Road, and I already told investigators this, but that blanket was not there in that tree.
Which direction Were you
That
heading?
would be when I'm coming out the end of the driveway and I'm going right toward Lansdowne Road, over the tracks and then hanging a hard right.
So you were coming the direction that would have been visible to you, and you didn't see it.
Yeah, I'd be going. Right at the end of the driveway. I take a right. I'm going up the road.
Cross the railroad tracks and then the right up of the dirt road.
Yeah, that's Lansdowne Road where the blanket was found.
All right. So when you're running around and as you're going outside and you're looking, that gate outside, is it always open? Was it unlocked? Was it locked?
Sometimes it's open.
Was it open that morning?
I do not remember that. I don't remember if the. I don't remember.
Okay. And so you come
It's
around.
not hard. It's not hard to open up gates anyway. They're just slide. Like I always forget to close. My mom always reminds me, but they're just a slide and bolt lock, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing hard about those locks at all.
Well, maybe not, but I'm just kind of curious because if you can unlock it and open it, but if you're on the other side of the fence and you're small, can you reclose it?
Yeah, you can. You can. All you do is just pull the fence close to you and then close it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And so it may not be a clue there. So you're out there searching in the woods. How long before law enforcement arrived?
I was told 12 minutes.
Okay.
But then when I looked at the documentation and, asked questions and dug further, it was 22 minutes, I do believe.
And were you at the house when they arrived?
I was actually, when they were arriving, I was actually coming back to the house in the car. And I couldn't park in the driveway because RCMP just stopped in the yard, right?
Okay.
Because they were just starting to walk down and talk to Malaya. So what I did is I parked the white Nissan Pathfinder, because that's the car Malaya owns, the 2017 Nissan white Pathfinder. And I parked over on the right-hand side of the marsh,
Okay.
going toward Lansdowne Road. There's a marsh that's right beside the house there. Probably can pull that up on the map. There's a little driveway that's right beside it. It's about 100 feet from the house.
Okay. Around here?
Yeah, that's actually the marsh. And there's a little driveway right on the left-hand side right there. Yep. That's where I parked in the white Nissan Pathfinder.
Okay.
And then when I jumped out of the car, the RCMP yelled at me from in the yard, right? Because they could see me clearly.
Yeah.
And they said, Daniel, don't go back into the woods. So at that point, I didn't go back into the woods. I walked over to the house and I went down. I was talking to my mother because the RCMP just, officers just sworn Malaya.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they asked you to stay there. They asked her to stay there. Did they look into your Pathfinder or the Pathfinder? Did they search it?
No, they didn't at all. No.
At any point?
Not that I know of.
Now, was this the vehicle that went with Malaya? Like, I think it was towed later.
Yeah, it was actually towed by Commander of Operations. The guy's name is Josh. And he was actually pretty pissed about where they left it. They left it right at the bottom of Lansdowne Road when they left.
Interesting. And so,
yeah. So he was pretty pissed about it. He said what he said is that goddamn fucking vehicle's always in the way of the search vehicles, right? So he said he's like, I had it towed out of here. It was White River Towing or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, he wasn't happy about where it was left because they use that road quite a bit.
And you don't, I mean, when it was towed, were you still in communication with Malaya?
No.
Okay.
And my wallet was left in the car when it was towed. And then when I got my wallet back, everything was taken out except for my actual important stuff, like my driver's license, my bank card, my health card. All that stuff was still in there, but all the other stuff was taken.
Interesting. And did the investigators ever tell you that they didn't search it?
No, they didn't.
Okay, so there's a possibility that they searched it and you're just not aware of it.
That is true. That could be true. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I mean, they can't tell me everything, so.
Right, and it is her vehicle, so I'm not sure if they would come out and say, "Hey, we searched her vehicle to you."
Yeah. Well, I mean, they tell me lots of things, but it's just some things they don't.
Well, I'll ask you this: did they search your other vehicles on the property?
I'm not totally sure. For the first couple of days, like I wasn't at the house, but I imagine they did.
Okay. Well, I would imagine that they would have. That would have been a big oversight to not do that. And my assumption is just an assumption that the reason you don't know about it, obviously, is because, well, Malaya and you weren't talking. So at this point, you arrive. Officers are talking to Malaya. How long before the search team gets there?
The search team was actually fairly quickly. They actually had the command center and everything set up pretty fast. They had a lot of different, I don't know what you would call them, search teams or dispatchments of different different units. There's 23 different search organizations or search teams in Nova Scotia from each area. They have a total of 23.
Mhm.
I'm not sure if all 23 made it here, but there was some from the South Shore. I mean, tons, a lot from all over Nova Scotia. And they had the Nova Scotia Guard called in, and the first helicopter arrived on scene within the first hour and a half, which was I do believe that I was told that's a record for making the first helicopter to a search.
That is pretty impressive. An hour and a
Yeah.
half. And the
But
dogs.
they had drones out. They had drones out much quicker than that. They had drones up within the first 30 to 40 minutes, I think.
Oh wow. And
Yeah,
how long before the dogs got there?
the dogs came much later. They were there that day, but for the first, um, I don't know when the dogs actually showed up, but for the first few hours there was no dogs. There was no dogs in the New Glasgow area. We don't even have a canine unit in New Glasgow right now, like in Pictou County. So,
So
and Major Crimes told me that they said that we don't have a canine unit in Pictou County anymore.
gotcha. And
So, so a lot of the resources are coming from northeastern Major Crimes, which is the Truro area, like
understood.
45 minutes to an hour away.
So it did take them some time to get out there.
Yeah, but we had the best search dogs in the province at the house. They belong to Halifax Search and Rescue.
Good deal. And
Yeah.
so you weren't allowed to go into the woods. Where were you at during this time?
I was actually back by Mom's RV talking to her, and we were wondering why we couldn't go back into the woods. And then a number of minutes passed. I'd say about 10 to 15 minutes passed, and a guy in military gear, it said Oliver on the back of his on his shirt or vest or whatever you want to refer to it as, or uniform, we'll call it.
Yeah.
He actually said, Daniel, you can go back into the woods. And I actually believe he was later on. He was a canine handler, but I don't know if the dog was there yet at that point.
Understood.
Because I remember seeing him with a canine unit, I'm pretty sure, later on in the search.
And so you were allowed to go back in the woods
Yeah.
after,
And
after
then I
some time?
immediately jumped the fence and I was right back into the woods, and I did all the streams that were up behind the house that lead into that little marsh that's actually to the left of the house, which you showed.
Now, I don't know how true this is. I've heard rumors of this, that at some point you heard a scream and you thought it sounded like the kids. When was
Yeah,
that?
that was later on. That would have been, it was still on that same stream path when I was walking up through the woods.
Okay.
I thought I heard a scream, but you have to remember, I had a helicopter right above me. There was drones. There was already people searching at this point. So I don't know if it was actually a child scream or not, but it did sound like a scream, but it could have been somebody yelling for the kids, right?
That's possible too. Yes, 100%.
But it was so hard to tell because the way the helicopter was going, it was going slow and doing. I I was like, I almost swear I could feel like the rotor wash that was coming down off of the wind, because sometimes they would go pretty low because the vegetation was pretty dense, because a lot of it's not hardwood, so there's no
Yes.
leaves, right? It's evergreen, so you have trees that are full of needles, so it's much more hard to get a good view from a helicopter through that stuff.
Yeah, no, I can imagine it being very difficult. At any point that first day, did they question you guys at all, as far as maybe perhaps
Yeah,
being
I
involved?
actually sat in my mother's vehicle, and commander of operations came down from the command center, and me and him sat in there, and we went over some of the stuff we're going over right now. Did you know the kids are going to be home from school that day? Would you have kept the kids home from school that day? What happened in the morning? Did you see the kids that morning? There's a lot of the similar questions you're asking me now.
Yeah, yeah, I can imagine so. And that happened that first day. So nighttime comes in. Around what time does the search stop on the first day?
The search doesn't stop on the first day. They go right through the
Okay,
night.
interesting. And when are you notified about a blanket?
Um, if we're referring to the blanket that was up in the tree,
All
or
right.
just
Well,
the blanket in general.
let's rewind then. So there's been a lot of confusion that you
Yeah.
had denied that the blanket in the tree was Lily's, that ended up being Lily's. Um, Was there another blanket that was found out there?
There is actually another blanket. There's a full pink blanket. I was shown a picture of it, splayed out on the ground. Officer Karen Mason showed me that. She's been, I mean, she was involved in quite a bit of the, just back and forth stuff between the command center and me and Malaya and mom and, some of the people involved, and just trying to relay information, keep us up to date and stuff like that.
And this pink
And
blanket that they found, was it something that they found close to the house, or
I'm not sure the location where it was found. There was a pink blanket, there was a water bottle, there was a children's T-shirt, and there may have been a sock or socks too, showing me as well. But none of them belonged to Lily's, right? I mean, none of them were Lily's, none of them were Jack's.
do you know if all those items were found at the same place, or were they found throughout?
I'm not sure where they were found. I was just told that, or any of these items, Lily and Jack's, we found them during the search.
Were they photographed together?
No, they were not photographed. They were photographed individually.
Okay, so most likely then they were not found together.
Yeah.
And around what time was this blanket, the full one that didn't belong to them? When was that one found?
That was found. It would have been during the daytime. So because I remember I was actually standing on the front deck when she brought her phone up to show me. So that would have been sometime during the day. So I'm saying between noon and 4 p.m. probably.
So, 4 is when they found the pink blanket that was Lily's. That was a portion of the blanket, correct?
Yeah. I'm not sure on the exact time on that either. It would have to be after 4 because the school bus goes up there around 4 o'clock.
Gotcha. And
Because that school bus, it goes up and it actually goes up and turns on my Uncle Ron's house, which is about 500 feet past where the blanket was found.
gotcha.
So, and the bus usually goes up there, and the bus usually makes its way up there around, I don't know, 3:55, between 3:55 and like 4 o'clock.
And this bus has cameras, correct?
Yeah, the buses do have cameras. When they looked at the footage from the outside of the buses, the blanket was not there.
Interesting. And it went both directions, correct? It went.
Yeah, they both go both directions. They have multiple buses.
And it was not seen at 3:55, 4 o'clock when the bus passed.
No, they said they did not see it on any camera footage from the buses. So
That is how far is the search command from where the blanket was found?
from the piece of Lily's blanket that was found in the tree, the actual command center itself,
Yeah.
it is okay. When you look at Lansdowne Station Road on the map,
Uh-huh.
I'll just wait for you here to set that up, and then we can take a look.
Yeah.
I'll give you the exact location.
So here is. Do you see it?
Yeah, so that is Lansdowne Station Road. As soon as you're going up Lansdowne Station Road, you go across a little bridge.
It's this direction.
Lansdowne Station.
Oh, this direction. Okay.
Yeah. So Lansdowne Station Road. There you go over a little tiny bridge.
Okay.
I don't know.
Have I gone too far?
Yeah, it goes right on Lansdowne Station Road. There's a little bridge when you're going down, and then you see, when you're seeing right around that turn there, that's where it is. You just headed on it, right
So
past that
around
little
here.
dirt road there, that little gravel pit dirt road. Yeah.
Why? I'm just curious, but why would they make command so far south of where you guys live? Did they say anything about that by any chance?
I'm not sure the actual reasoning for making it there. I know it's a road that's they had a long stretch going down that hill, going to the command center, so everybody could park their cars. Because there was hundreds of cars there, Daniel.
Now,
Search vehicles. They had to move in, RCMP SUVs and everything, right?
so how long after law enforcement arrived at 1027 did the command post get set up? Was that like the first thing that happened?
I'm not sure. I was actually in the woods for a lot of that, Daniel. So I don't have like a clear time that was set up. Clear time that I could say the setup like began or was completed.
So around what time were you notified, and how were you notified about the pink blanket that belonged to Lily?
The pink blanket that belonged to Lily, I wasn't notified at all about that. I was actually told there was a piece of a pink blanket that was found up the road in a tree. And I said, piece of a pink blanket? Like, and I put two and two together. I ran out to the garbage bin, and I seen that there was a hole ripped in the bag, and clearly there was somebody who went into the garbage, or something went on with the garbage for a piece of that to be ripped out. Because usually when you look in the garbage bin, Daniel, and you see a garbage bag, usually it doesn't have a hand-sized hole ripped in the side of it.
That's interesting. Now, the pink blanket, when they told you about it, did they show you a picture? The piece?
The piece of the blanket? No,
No. Okay,
no.
so they just told you they found a piece, and you went to the garbage bin. And
Yeah.
where in the garbage bin was the bag that had the other part of the blanket? Was it towards the
Okay,
top, in the middle,
there
the
was
bottom?
these were like large industrial sized garbage bags, right?
Okay.
And mom would always yell at me, don't put so much garbage in one bag, because I would always make the bags like really heavy, right?
Okay.
And so I had the blanket was in a garbage bag, but there was another garbage bag that was inside, right? So it was like double bagged,
Interesting.
and you could see I keep wanting to say a hole that was ripped in the side from a hand that went down inside of it, and pulled something out, but it looked to be like somebody put their hand in there and ripped it out. But
Now,
the
well, the
bag,
bag
the blanket was still at the bottom of the bag, right? It wasn't pulled all the way out. It wasn't anything like that. So
was the trash bag in the bottom of the can or on top of like all the other trash?
I was the garbage bag, that one big garbage bag, that was like a 60-pound garbage bag. and it was just that was the only bag that was in there.
Oh,
Was
okay. So there
was
wasn't
that
any
one?
other trash on top of
No,
it.
there was nothing else on piled on top of it or underneath it.
So if somebody opened the bin, that's the first thing that they would see.
Yeah, they would be able to see the pink blanket in there. Yeah.
Okay. And so it seems like in the documents that it alludes that they showed you guys a picture and that you guys confirmed it. Was that if you didn't see a picture, do you know if Malaya did?
I'm not sure if she did or not. I have no idea, because I
And
actually wasn't present at the house very much during the search, because I was just out in the woods searching, man.
understood.
Like
And so
I poured my heart and soul into just searching as hard as I could.
I can imagine. I can imagine. And you're out there searching. Did you find out that night or was it the next day about the boot prints?
I actually found out, I think it was the next day. And then when I asked investigators when the boot print was found, they told me they weren't sure on the exact time it was found, but they thought it was found during the middle of the night.
Okay. And I know and I made a mistake, guys, and I want to premise this was my mistake. I had indicated that this image here was a representation of what they had seen with the bare feet and the footprints. I went back and read my conversation with Daniel, so I just wanted to clarify it. What he said was that this picture, he had problems with it because he couldn't understand why a third person came, but this wasn't something that was shown to him by investigators. Kind of clarify, where did this image come from?
That image originally came from Maritime Happenings. Mom actually received it from Malaya. So Malaya sent it to my mother, and then mom and my brother came home on the ATV from their search, from where they were searching, um, to to talk to Malaya, see what this photo was about. But it was
Yeah,
actually Maritime Happening, which originally posted it, and that came from one of the searchers, I guess.
understood. So it wasn't something that you saw from the investigators or from the search team.
No, it wasn't anything like that.
Did they ever tell you that there was three prints?
Um, I don't actually remember that, but that picture always just bugged me. And then even if they did tell me there was three prints, like that doesn't make sense to me, Daniel.
Yeah.
I mean, when two kids are missing, they don't gain a follower to go missing with.
Right. And here, just to kind of show everybody, this is where the image came from. This is Malaya Brooks. And this was at 10:16 in the morning on May 3rd from Malaya to your mom. Your mom sent me this photo so that we could see that this is where that message came from. Now,
Mhm.
the location of the boot prints, It's near the pipeline, kind of somewhat in the direction of the pink blanket. If we I wanted to show you this and get your opinion on this. So the blanket was found here. There's a road that leads back up. Now I kind of just did a line here, but there, if you follow this road and you just follow this little path here, it gets you on the pipeline. I mean, sure enough, you're right in the middle between that road that they mentioned. Um,
Hmm.
have you gone down this area yourself throughout any point?
No, I haven't. I haven't done any of that area at that point.
At any point? What about now? Like since they found the boot print and stuff like that, have
No,
you ever gone out here? Okay.
no.
Now,
I thought that's a lot of that area was just searched with the human remains dogs. So all that was just done.
the other weird thing about this though is this is a dirt road, correct?
Where the piece of the blanket was found.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually called the Gordon Summit Road. That actually used to be an actual road that was used quite a bit, but now over the years it was just used for, they used it for logging. There's cutovers up there and stuff like that.
They didn't find any footprints around here, right? Where the blanket
No,
was?
not that I'm aware of, and that's all fresh gravel.
Yeah,
You,
that's
I
so
mean,
weird, man.
that's all fresh gravel. That whole Lansdowne Road was totally redone. It's all fresh gravel. You would see any footprints that were put on there at that time.
So the second day comes, they tell you about the prints on the about the boot prints.
Mhm.
Um, what do you think about those boot prints? Who do you think they belong to?
I couldn't tell you. There's a lot of kids in the area. Uh, that's what that's what I kind of think where they came from. But to find only one boot print, the kids would have had to walk up that hill, and there's a ton of mud there, Daniel. I mean and the incline of that hill is and that terrain is not easy for children. Just to walk up from the road to that pipeline would have probably taken over an hour. And by that time, the helicopters would have seen them if they were in the woods.
My only problem with that is if there's mud there and it's muddy, if somebody went out there and planted them, where are their footprints?
That is correct too.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, the main portion of the mud is actually on the actual four-wheeler trail that's on the pipeline. All the rest of the pipeline, for 90% of it, it's all just moss and moss and just what I mean, grass or a marshy type grass. But
Now,
still, if you're walking along that, your footprints would have left indentations in the grass.
yeah, I would have thought so. I mean, especially if it's an adult, that's going out there that's heavier than these kids.
Yeah.
You would assume that they would have left some indentions as well. Now, this says here that a police dog handler located the set of footprints. Do you know if that's true? Like, how did they come across the footprints, in your opinion?
Um, I actually heard the footprints were actually found during the middle of the night, and they actually had an untrained bloodhound up in that area. I'm not sure if that's what they're referring to by police dog handler or not, because there were so many dogs out there.
Yeah, I can imagine. And so, when is the
But
first time?
they did tell me they exhausted that whole area. They sent so many searchers in. They sent the dogs in. They exhausted that area for multiple days.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people might say, "Oh, well, this is going to your uncle's house. Maybe you planted them." I find it weird. I don't understand why somebody would plant evidence that's leading to the direction of a.
I've never
but they
actually
have.
seen the actual location of the footprint in real life.
Yeah.
So I told investigators this, and I've never seen the actual blanket hanging in the tree. I've never seen that.
Gotcha.
So
when is the next day comes? Searchers are out there. How long are searchers in the area searching for Jack and Lilly?
for the first initial search, I think it was like 6 or 7 days. I'd have to relook at all or look at all the actual how many days they were here for, but it was 6 or 7 that for the first initial search, and then they came back the next weekend and they did that search as well. And that doesn't include when the dive teams came in. I talked with those guys after they were done finishing Lansdowne Lake and some of the ponds and the streams, and they assured me that there was no evidence that the kids were near any water.
Interesting. And your property, I know it was recently searched with the cadaver dogs.
Yep.
How many times has it been searched by the search team and the dogs, whether it was the first time they
Uh-huh.
were out there or second, third? How many times in totality?
The amount of times the property was searched was, I can't even put a number on it, Daniel, because it was constantly new people coming in and walking through the property.
Hmm.
Like for the whole time, there was just new people coming in. I mean, the amount of ribbons I see around, it's in the thousands in Lansdowne.
Gotcha. And so they're coming in, they're searching the property. How long before you're brought into a police station?
I was brought in. I don't remember what day I was brought in because all the days mashed together.
Hmm.
But I was brought in by two investigators that were originally on the case,
Okay.
and I haven't seen those guys in a while now. We'll say that.
Yeah.
But those two original guys took me in, and we went into the Stellarton detachment, which is in Pictou County, not the major crimes headquarters that's in Bible Hill.
Hmm.
But I sat in the room with them, and they bought me some food and some coffee, which we know why that was for, right? Collect DNA.
Yeah.
And they never had to ask me for any of that. I was willing to give them everything.
Right.
But yeah, we ran over the timeline the 2 days prior, and I drew them a map of everywhere I went during the search, and also we just talked about everything that led up to where I was that day, sitting down talking to them.
And
So
this after that you and Malaya were no longer in communication?
yeah, this was after that. Yeah.
Okay. And so did you drive in there on your own? Did they pick you up?
No, they actually drove. Whenever they needed me, they actually came and got me
Got you.
because they wanted to know for 100% that I was coming or not, or so they always came and got me. Like I was with them every day for the first, quite a few days. Like I seen them every day. That wasn't my first interrogation though. I wasn't sitting in the Stellarton dispatch or Stellarton department. That was my very first actual audio recording with them. Was the second day of the search before Malaya left. I actually sat in with major crimes officers and we recorded everything that I did and everything I knew of so far up there. I mean, up until they were talking to me.
And so
So
that
we actually, during the interrogation at the Stellarton dispatch, we actually went over a lot of the stuff we already did, just so they could cross reference, right?
and how long were you out there for at the dispatch?
What was that?
How long did that interview take? Was it a couple of hours?
The original one, sitting in the major crimes van with them, that was about 45 minutes to an hour. And then, but the actual interrogation, if you want to call it, at the Stellarton dispatch, that one was almost 4 hours.
Jeez, that's
Yeah.
extensive. And so you walk in there, they're asking you some questions for 4 hours. Do they ever get accusatory?
No, not at all. I was completely cooperative with them, and they said like, "Yeah, we're gonna come and get your phone in a few days. Do you want to sign a waiver?" And I said, "No, I don't even need to sign a waiver." And I threw them my phone.
Yeah.
So
So when did they pick up your phone? Was it that day?
no, it wasn't that day. It was actually a few days after.
Okay. And how long
And
did they have your phone for?
they had my phone for about a week, and they actually gave me a loaner phone to use. Well, they had my phone, and then they brought my phone back, and they realized my little SIM card holder wasn't inside the phone. So they
Uh-huh.
said, "Oh, we guess we're gonna have to go back and get that from the tech guys." So I used the phone for an extra few days. Well, they retrieved my little SIM card
That's
holder.
interesting. And
Yeah,
so they had
yeah,
your
yeah.
phone.
I don't know if that was all planned or not, Daniel.
Well, I'm sure they were listening into the things you were saying on that phone they let you borrow.
Yeah, yeah. Well, they were free to listen, Daniel. Nothing was going on.
And so you get your phone back. What all? I mean, I'm understanding that they went through your text messages, your bank accounts, your
Yep.
locations.
Uh-huh.
What else were they able to access from your phone?
Oh, they got access to everything, Daniel.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
And
they probably looked. I mean, they had it for over a week, so they could have just looked through everything.
did they have any questions referencing what they looked through with the phone after they gave it back?
No, they didn't. I didn't question them on it, and they didn't question me. They said, here's your phone back. Everything's good.
And how long was it between the time that they gave you your phone back and the time that you took the polygraph test?
Um, I may have taken the polygraph exam when they had my phone.
Oh,
I,
okay.
I, I don't quite remember that. It's hard for me to remember all because usually I'm not I'm not pulling up date to date, right? So
So with that, I know you said that, hey, I'm willing to take a polygraph test. I'll answer your questions. Um,
yeah,
you know, how long from that time that you said, hey, I'll do it? How long was it before you actually sat there in front of the polygraph test examiner?
I'm guessing probably a week, but it felt like longer than that, Daniel. Every day was so long.
I can imagine. I can imagine. Now, kind of transitioning to that polygraph. You go in. Did they give you the questions they were going to ask beforehand?
Yeah, they actually did give us the questions ahead of time. There was actually 5 questions. I don't know why it says in the documents there was 4. There was actually 5 questions they wanted to ask, and then they would throw in questions that they knew that were that you couldn't lie on, right? Like, have you ever lost your temper? Obviously, everybody has lost their temper before, so
Right.
you can't. And then, but you're going to say that you never lost your temper before, and then they know that's a lie, right?
Yeah.
So they could find your baseline on that. But all my questions centered around the death of the children. Are you an accessory to killing Lily and Jack? Did you murder Lily and Jack? That's all the questions were based on that.
Well, those are 2. What are the other 3?
Um, what they did was just reword the questions, differently, right?
Did they ask you, like, do you know where they're at?
No,
Huh. That's an
no,
interesting.
they were just all on murder or accessory to murder. Do you know anything on the murders of Lily and Jack? Are you accessory to killing Lily and Jack? Did you murder Lily and Jack? It's just all they just the same questions, but just the orientation of the wording was just changed.
Understood. Understood. And
But I didn't want questions like that. I said, let's do another polygraph, and that's of all the questions on disappearance. And I want everybody else polygraph the exact same way.
so you suspect that they didn't ask Malaya about the disappearance aspect,
You
just the
know, they
murder
wanted to
aspect.
rule out death as quick as possible. So, because that would narrow everything down. Because if they knew that the children were deceased, that would completely narrow it down.
Hmm.
They wouldn't have to ask them this on the disappearance.
So you take the polygraph test. Is there any like questioning after the polygraph?
No, I actually did 3 polygraphs back to back. It took a total of 3 hours I was there for.
Oh, really? 3
Yeah,
and it was the same questions over
the
and over
same
again.
questions over and over and over. And then they
And then
showed me a piece of paper at the end, and it said, like, it showed you like all the stuff on the polygraph, and I passed.
that's crazy.
And then after that, I was taken into a separate room, and where I sat with major crimes officers, and we just talked.
And that conversation, what was the basis of it?
Oh, the conversation after the polygraph,
Yeah.
just chatting with a couple of major crimes officers.
It wasn't about the case in specifics.
No, it wasn't about the case at all.
All right. And so, the polygraph test is over. You walk out. Um, how is communication with law enforcement after that?
It definitely improved, but they weren't really hard on me at all, even from the start, because I was so cooperative. You know what I mean? There was a lot of inside jokes, and it was a different experience than I think most people would think of.
Yeah.
They were
And
actually, pretty lenient with me, like, driving fast in the car on the highway, and them guys throwing jokes out and everything like that. It was a different experience.
good deal. But like as far as the amount of communication, did they, after you took the polygraph test, did they continue to talk to you the same amount, or did that kind of
Yeah, they
taper off?
continued to talk to me the same amount until about, I would say, maybe 2 months in. It was after that CBC interview.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? It kind of like tapered off after that, and then in the last month and a half, maybe last month, the officers have only came to, or investigators have only came to me 2 times. Once for the human remains dogs, and once to get all Lily and Jack's belongings for Malaya.
Yeah, yeah, that's kind of indicative of somebody who, if if they suspected you, they want to talk to you as much as they possibly can.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They want you to talk as much as you can.
But you have to
even
remember,
committed.
after my visits with Meadow, I would always stop in at Major Crimes. I mean, I walk into the front desk of the department. I said, Daniel, you can go meet him around back. Go to the back door where Major Crimes headquarters is.
Yeah.
So,
How are things with Meadow? How are your visitations going?
my visits with Meadow are going pretty good. Um, there's not really much I can say other than that with all the court stuff. I mean, I don't have another court hearing for almost like 3 months, I think. So,
And have you spoken with Malaya since any of this has happened?
yes, I did. I did one time.
How did that go?
Actually, there was twice. First time, when she was on the run with Meadow fled to the reserve when she wasn't being supervised. Darren called me and said Malaya's unsupervised. So then I called Malaya's phone from my aunt's phone because I was at my uncle's at the time. Used my aunt's phone. I called Malaya's phone. Malaya picked up, and I could tell from the background that she was in a moving vehicle. So Darren was correct on that. And so then I called Major Crimes investigators and I said, Malaya's on the run with Meadow. And they said, there's nothing we can do, Daniel. You got to call CPS for that. Try called CPS, but they were already closed. And it was actually Cindy, her own mother, which called CPS on Malaya, which had Meadow removed.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And so,
that's something new that the public probably doesn't know.
And what ended up resulting? What happened? Did CPS find her, pick her up? Obviously?
CPS went to her father's house along with RCMP, I do believe, and they actually took Meadow out of her care while she was at Henry's.
Gotcha. And Meadow's been in with CPS since?
She's in foster care.
Gotcha. And are there any like is there an end result in that? Do you guys think that she'll be in foster care for much longer?
I'm not sure at the moment. I mean, there's so many moving parts in this, Daniel. I'm not sure, especially with Jack and Lily being missing in that case, because they're Malaya's children. CPS it has them included into the court case.
Understood.
Like they have them included in the court cases because it's involuntary, right? Because she's the mother of them. She's connected to Meadow, so they're automatically seen in the court case.
Are there any stipulations that you have? Like, are you forced to take any drug tests or anything like that?
Drug tests, and I have to do therapy, psychological exam. What else do we have? There's so many things. I mean, I have meetings with my lawyer. That takes time too for that case.
And I'm assuming since you're
lots.
still meeting with her that you're passing all these things, drug test, everything's passing.
Yeah.
Good deal.
I do all that. I tried to do as much as I can. I even asked them the other day. We had a private conference with the lawyers, and there was a lawyer from the ministry for foster care and my caseworkers. And I asked them if there's anything extra they can do. They said, no, not right now. It's just like you already have like enough on your plate right now. Just keep up doing that stuff. Because, most days, Daniel, I'm pretty busy.
Yeah. And so, speaking of CPS, there's been a lot of speculation about the kids having been visited by CPS and things of that nature. Can you clear that up? Like,
I will actually clear that up. I cleared it up many times online, but there's still people that seem to have misconceptions on that. Okay. So CPS actually did come to the house, and that was about Jack and Lily's behavior, especially at school. And then they were about to be diagnosed with, or be sent for the diagnosis of autism. The school wanted that, and me and Malaya wanted that as well. The main reason why CPS came out is to, give us phone numbers and give us some instruction and who could we go to learn more about dealing with their behaviors.
So it had nothing to do with a black eye?
No.
What's the story behind the black eyes? Because I think it's been something a lot of people have been asking about, that there's a multiple black eyes. What would you want to clear up about that?
I mean, the black eyes, it definitely was not from me. Daniel would come out and say that first. come out, because I know the world thinks that, and that's absolutely heartbreaking for me to be accused of that stuff. Because as you can see, and even in the court documents, Malaya refers to as Daniel was an involved parent, and he didn't even physically discipline the kids. If I'm not going to physically discipline them, why would I ever abuse them? That's the first thing. But the most of the black eyes were probably from Lilly, because, and I don't want to say 100%, because Jack was really clumsy too. Like when we used to take him through the woods, he would fall a lot. I remember one time too, Jack ran right into the doorknob on the door. They would throw stuff at each other. They were quite aggressive toward each other. Then most times when they became aggressive, Malaya couldn't handle them. I had to come home from work 4 or 5 times just due to the fact Malaya couldn't handle the kids. And that's why you can refer to the documents again. Malaya said that Daniel had a voice that the kids listened to.
Now,
So-
was this behavior of them physical? Is that why CPS was called? I mean, you mentioned there was behavior. Were they?
Yeah, it
Jack
was
and Lily
behavior at
physical
school, because
school?
Jack would refuse to do things, or some days he would do it he would do it easily. Other days he would completely refuse. They became aggressive. I remember Lily would try to pull her hair out sometimes when she would get frustrated. So, I mean, there was just, and I'm not going to point fingers at Malaya saying that she couldn't handle the kids like 100%, but it was a struggle for her, man. It really was.
Yeah.
And I don't blame her, because, you know, being a stay-at-home mom isn't easy, right?
Right. No, it's not. No, it's not. I mean, being a parent in general is not easy, and
Of course, it's one of the
Two
most
kids.
difficult jobs you'll ever do.
yeah, and if they did have autism and they had some behavioral issues, I mean, that can only add to it as well. Um, and so none of the reasoning. Well, let me rephrase this. So CPS doesn't have anything open when it comes to Jack and Lily currently. Is that correct?
That is correct.
That's good to know. There's not an open investigation. There's nothing there.
No.
Okay. And so the cadaver dogs come out here recently. Now, a lot of people have been speculating because you had a vehicle traffic incident that occurred.
Yeah.
And I guess the timing behind that's a lot of people are kind of trying to connect some dots. What happened with the traffic accident?
Okay. Got pulled over.
I mean, not accident, incident. I've said
Yeah,
accident.
incident. That's right. Yeah, I only got into one accident ever. We don't want to talk about that. But yeah, the incident is I got pulled over, and the vehicle wasn't the registration wasn't in my name, but now it is. The vehicle sitting in the driveway and everything like that. I didn't receive any fines, and the car just got impounded. Went down, got it towed out of the impound, and it's all good.
And so the vehicle was there. Now I'm curious. Did you see anything out of place? Any of the body panels inside out of place? Did it appear?
No,
it didn't do anything.
No, it went straight to the tow yard. Nothing was different on it. Nothing was moved. It was just nothing was touched in it.
If investigators wanted to go through it, would you have?
Investigators knew about my vehicle being impounded. I even said to the investigators, like, you should seize that as evidence and then give it back to me so I don't have to pay the impound fees. Like that's how much I joke with investigators, man.
Yeah. And so so you got your vehicle back, the property with the cadaver dogs. Now, they show up. How much advance notice did you have that they were going to be at your property?
I didn't have any notice. I didn't know what day they were coming, what hour they were coming. It was on Monday. I literally got home at 1:00. My visit was over at 12:00 with Meadow. So I got home around 1:00 because it's an hour drive. And I pulled into the yard, and the SUVs were there. The picture or video I sent you, that was at the blanket site. That's when I knew the dogs were in Lansdowne.
Got you. And so so I know that there was news out there, that the RCMP reported it to the news. So if they didn't report it, you wouldn't have had any knowledge?
No, I didn't know what day they were coming. I didn't know what time they were getting from the airport or wherever, how they were shipped, the dogs. So
And so from the time that they did notify you, I'm assuming that they did, or did they just knock on your door and say, "Hey, we're here"?
no, I wasn't even home at the time. They must have just came right into the yard and mom was there but they were searching for only about an hour before I arrived on scene, like before I arrived home.
And when you arrived, they were still there searching.
Yeah, they didn't hardly make it anywhere. They must have been talking to mom for the first little while because literally they were right outside the end of the house, like by the bedroom. They were just walking around. So and
And
then I walked up to them. I said, "Hey, can I walk up to you and the dog?" Right?
yeah,
Being respectful, obviously.
yeah. And did they allow you to walk with them throughout the
Yeah,
search?
I did
Or
walk with them for some of it, but then I was like, I don't want to get in the way. They were asking me where they should search and stuff like that. So I just told them, do whatever you need to do. There's the beaver pond out back. There's the marsh right beside the house. Like these are wetland areas, so the ground's much softer, right?
yeah,
So I figured, you know what I mean. Those might be good places to start for them.
yeah. And so they searching out there. How long was the dogs while you were there? Obviously, they were there for a little bit before you got there, but how long were they there on your property while you were there?
Um, 3 hours maybe. That was only one dog. The very first day, there was only one dog
And did
on the
the
property. It was a black shepherd.
handler have him on a leash, or did he let him free roam?
They free roamed while they were in the yard, but when they took them onto the paved road, they had them on leashes. The leashes were like just rope that was like 20 feet long or something like that.
Good deal. Good deal. And so the first day comes, they search, and it was just one dog. They leave. Second day comes in. Is it a different dog? Is it the same dog, or
They
two?
brought
Or
brought
both?
in. I believe on the second day they brought in both dogs.
Okay.
So
And they searched it at the same time, or was it one after another?
um, they had them. They were both. I kind of want to say both together, but like they weren't walking right over each other's footprints, right?
Gotcha. Gotcha.
So
And so they search out there. How long were they there on the second day?
on the second day, they did 3 or 4 hours too, but they left a little bit earlier because they wanted to go back and do the pipeline and stuff too, right?
Gotcha.
So
And free roam again off the leash and the property.
yeah, whenever they were on the property, they were always free roam.
And
They
so,
had fun chasing the cat around, smelling the chickens. They went inside the chicken coop. The dogs actually did not go underneath the house. We lifted up, the door on the side of the skirting, and I was the one who crawled under there. I think I told you that in a message.
yeah, you did. That
Yeah,
they were pointing to you to go to certain places and uncover things and stuff.
yeah, 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 yeah. I didn't. I felt bad for them. I didn't want to get their pretty uniforms dirty.
There you go. There you go.
So
And so, they're out there and they leave that area. They go out to the where the boot print was. Is that the last time they searched your house, or was there a third one?
I'm not sure if they came back or not because on Wednesday, right? It was Monday when they first landed, and then on Wednesday I had to go back and I had a visit with Meadow, so I was
Oh,
gone for majority of the morning until 1 o'clock again.
and did they tell you if they found absolutely anything out there?
I was not notified of anything.
Now, did they tell you they didn't find nothing, or did they just not mention anything? Because I mean, could
They
they have
didn't
found
mention
something and
anything
not
to
say
me.
it? Okay,
Yeah,
all right. And so, did they
but
they
I
inform
but
you
I
where they were
think
going to be at?
but when I went by on my Friday's meeting with after my visit with Meadow, I didn't see any of the vehicles at Northeast Major Crimes where I've seen them. I've seen one on Wednesday, right? The K9 unit
Yeah,
handlers SUV. Um, so I figured what they're doing, they still have the cadaver dogs out, but they're searching different locations now.
understood. A
So
lot of people were talking about, your uncle's property, and that maybe even I think Janie has mentioned that she has a 7-acre property out there as well. Do you know if the cadaver dogs and or the search dogs have searched that property?
I'm not sure if they did or not, but the properties are really close to the pipeline. So I imagine they would have walked up and down the sides of the road. So
Yeah.
they might have done them. I have no confirmation on that though, Daniel.
Understood. So you don't know.
No.
And would there be any issue if they showed up and said, "Can we search this property?" You think? I'm sure.
Oh
Jenny
no,
would.
there would have been no issues. Like my family's 100% cooperative. They would never say no to anything of law enforcement.
Has there been anybody, not necessarily inside your family, but anybody in the neighborhood who hasn't been cooperative?
Mm. I know what you're getting at, Daniel. I know what you're getting at. And I'm
Yeah.
gonna say, I don't know if they were not cooperative, but they weren't happy to be cooperative.
And so I know that there was a person who wasn't too fond of the command center being close to their property.
That's
Uh,
right.
Do you know if they denied anybody of entering their property?
I am not 100% sure on that, but it would have been it would have been stupid not to let law enforcement on your property. I mean, they're already knocking on the door, and
Yeah.
I mean, just by sitting in front of your house, I mean, it's not a wise thing not to let them in.
Yeah, no, I understand. Now, I believe this person, and I don't know if it's the same person or not, but I believe this person has mentioned a couple of things. One of the things mentions is that he heard a vehicle driving around at 5 a.m. Or at some point, a 5-speed vehicle. Um, is there a vehicle that has visited you? Maybe not that night, but in other nights, maybe they're confused about the night that they heard this. Have you ever had a late night visitor with a loud vehicle?
No, I don't know anybody with the 5-speed other than my brother. And my brother has a wife and a family, so he's not driving out there in the middle of the night.
And is it like a vehicle that's loud?
No, it's a brand new Subaru.
Oh, okay. And so,
And it's not customized or anything either, so there's no loud exhaust or anything like that.
just like a normal vehicle.
Yeah.
And the area, if somebody were to come to your house, would they have cell service in your home if you had friends over?
What's that? Would they have service?
Yeah. If you invited me over to your home and I went over, would I have cell service at your house?
No, if you put your phone in the window, you might have one bar.
Do people that what do you use so that people do have service?
Wi-Fi. We have Starlink.
And when people come to your house, do you share that information so that they can have service, or is that something that's private?
The Wi-Fi is left completely open. I don't know if I want to say that on the internet, but it's left completely wide open.
You may want to close it.
Yeah, after this, I am going to close it, I think.
Yeah, you might want to, because people might pull up close to you and try to log in. But yeah, all right. Now, the reason I ask is because if somebody's visiting you, they most likely would connect to the Wi-Fi so they can have service, correct?
Yeah, we left it wide open before people that are stranded on the side of the roads or law enforcement when they were here, so they would have Wi-Fi, because even when they were in the house, their radios didn't work.
Gotcha. And so, have you
There's
had
a lot
parties
of
at
there's
your
a lot of
house?
reporters that came down from like Montreal that drove down and stuff like that, and they had satellite phones.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And have you had parties at your house or anything like that?
No, I don't have parties. I was raising kids and having a family, Daniel.
Now, I know that some people have questioned this a lot. Drug use.
Yeah.
Is that something that you've ever had a problem with?
I've used drugs before in the past. I'm not ashamed to say that. I'll be the first person to say that.
And when did it stop?
It stopped before the disappearance. Obviously, I wasn't using drugs during the search or anything like some of Malaya's family claimed to say.
Gotcha. And is it so? This is a problem from a while ago, or is this a recent problem that you've had?
Well, Daniel was never really a problem. Like I wasn't going into any psychosis or being, crazy in any way. I wasn't doing like breaking enters or,
Yeah.
doing anything like that to feed an addiction.
Right. And so, but about when was the last time then that you did use?
Much before the disappearance. I can't put an actual day on it, but it was much before.
Gotcha. And so
I didn't
during
have
that
any drugs. There was no drugs on the property. There's no meth labs. There's nothing like that. You would have seen me going on handcuffs the very first day if there was drugs, right?
I would assume so. When
Yeah.
they say that there's no evidence of a criminal offense, I would assume drugs would
Mhm.
be a criminal offense.
Yeah,
So,
that's correct. And investigators even told me, they said, Daniel, if you had any drugs, we would just take them. but we know there was no drugs on the property. So
Yeah. And I know that Malaya's family has mentioned that. Has, to your knowledge, Malaya mentioned that to anybody? Or is that just
I
her
think she
family?
did. But I mean, the narrative's always been targeted at me, right? Though, Daniel.
Gotcha.
And you know, I'll stay in the spotlight as long as it takes, because as long as I'm the target, the individuals or groups or whoever has the kids, they're gonna feel more relaxed, and that gives investigators a chance to strike.
So you believe that the kids are alive?
Yes, 100%. I hope every day. I believe the exact same as RCMP do. They didn't go into the woods.
What do you believe happened?
I don't want to go into any theories. I don't want to point any fingers, because I've done that so many times online. So I'm gonna refrain from doing it, Daniel.
Do you think it was an outsider?
No, because on the second day they came out and said this is not an abduction. An abduction means that the individual or parties that took the kids wouldn't be known by the kids. That's what an abduction is. So when the RCMP said it wasn't an abduction, that means the person that has the kids is known by them. And because I was with Malaya for 3 years, I think I may know the person that has the kids, right? Because I was involved in the kid's life and I was involved in Malaya's life.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And
but I went to investigators with every single lead I have, and they listen, but I don't know what they're planning or their plan is, right? Because they don't let me in on that stuff, right?
gotcha. Yeah.
But they always just tell me don't pursue any leads, don't fly any drones, don't follow anybody, which I don't. So
That's good advice. You
yeah,
don't want to put yourself in a bad position.
yeah.
Um,
Well, I mean, I have so many people following me and drones and everything else. So
yeah, no, I've heard, and your guys' life should not be like that.
yeah.
And so I know you mentioned, and this is, we'll be kind of closing it off here pretty soon. You mentioned that you want some more polygraph tests. You've
Mhm.
included yourself in that as far as that you're willing.
Oh, 100%. I'll do it. I told investigators I'll do as many polygraphs as it takes.
And you don't have to give names, but are there people in specifics that you want to take polygraph tests?
Yeah, there's many people that are involved in the case, including the individual or individuals that found the part of the blanket. They were never polygraphed.
Interesting. And so you want those that found certain things to also be polygraphed as well.
Yeah, because I think the people that found the only possible evidence during the search, they should probably be polygraphed, considering that their involvement, right?
You know, there's some interesting things that have been said that,
Mhm.
you know, I was talking to Darwin once as well, and he mentioned that when he was talking to Malaya, that there was, before the disappearance, there was conversation of her with the family talking about potentially leaving you. And that when he went and spoke to her, like, hey, is this true? She said, don't worry about it. I got another plan, or something to that nature. And
Yeah,
so,
I can tell you the actual story on that if you want to hear it,
yeah, go ahead.
because I know Darren too. So
Yeah. How, from your point of view, how did that go down?
and okay, Patty, which is Malaya's grandmother, asked Darren, you know, I don't think Malaya wants to be with Daniel anymore. This was 2 weeks prior.
Yeah.
Um, do you think, Darren, you can go and get Malaya? And Darren's like, no, I'm not breaking up in a relationship. Like that's a relationship. Like I'm not going to get involved in somebody else's, life, right?
Right.
Which makes sense. That was a smart thing by Darren to do. So this is 2 weeks prior. And so then Patty calls Malaya and asks Malaya, if you ever just want to, get away, you can come live with me. And then that's when Malaya said, no, Patty, I have a different plan.
Hmm.
And this was told to me by Darren, which had access to both sides of the family, right?
Yeah.
The only person that had access to both sides is Darren and the investigators.
Huh.
So.
Do you think that any dogs or any searches are going to?
And also, Daniel, I want to add to that. This is backed up in the court case with Meadow. and in one of the affidavits, it does state that Malaya wanted to leave 2 weeks prior, but then decided to stay. So that's some evidence to back that up.
It's an odd timing of things.
Yeah, it's very odd. It's extremely odd.
It is. It's odd timing, and
for Malaya to say that, a little bit more odd.
it is. It is.
Mhm.
Like, I completely understand when Darren says some of the things that he says referencing her, her actions or behaviors.
Mhm.
I know you mentioned that the one time that you've talked to her. What was the second time that you talked?
The first time was just that hello on the phone when
Yeah.
she was fleeing to the reserve, and then as soon as she heard my voice, she immediately hung up the phone. Right.
Okay.
So, but by that time, I already heard the background noise. She wasn't a moving car, so Darren was actually correct on that, and
Right.
Darren's correct on a lot of things. So,
And the second time.
and the second time was when she filed the report or complaint to CPS about me. We can go into the first complaint after this, but the second complaint was after investigators came and got all Jack and Lily's belongings. There was some letters that were received in the mailbox here, and so there was 3 letters. There was one to Lily, one to Jack, and one to Malaya. They were all from Nova Scotia Health Authority.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if they were health cards or not, or something, but because I wasn't going to go look through the mail because that's a federal offense to go through someone's mail, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there was the 3 letters, and there was Jack and Lily's tablets, right? So there was a tablet each, and there was 3 letters. Malaya was coming out of CPS, so I walked up. When she opened up her trunk, I seen her. I walked up, and I put the 3 pieces of mail and the 2 tablets in their trunk, and I said, "Have a good day, Malaya," and walked away, and then went in and had my visit with Meadow.
Mm-hmm. And she reported you for that.
Yeah, she reported me for that. But when I walked up to her, the odd thing was when she seen me, she smiled. So I'm not sure what went on there, but I wasn't like extremely overly nice when I set the stuff down. I set it down. And I said, "Have a good day, Malaya," just like that. So I wasn't like trying to be like overly nice or overly mean, right? It was kind of neutral.
And what did CPS tell you about that interaction?
CPS told me, if Malaya was felt really caught off guard by it, and was she didn't like it when I walked up and handed her mail. But then why would she smile, right? With this, which adds a whole nother layer to that situation. But they just said, CPS mainly just said to me, if you have mail that comes for her, or you want to, there's something you have to give her, just give it to us and we'll give it to her.
Good deal.
So,
and what was the first time that
the first one was actually I parked too close to her. Like I parked near her in the parking lot.
How far were you parked from her?
Sometimes the only parking lot, the parking spot was right beside her, so I was parked beside her. Right, I'm not gonna miss a visit because I don't have a place to park. And if there's a parking spot right beside her, I'm gonna take it.
Did you see her, or was it just your car was next?
No, I didn't see her, but I usually see her almost every time, right? Because I wait like an extra couple minutes before I go in sometimes, just so I don't, I'm walking through the door and she's walking out through the door, and we don't have like a face-to-face, interaction.
Understood.
Because I'm not going to get a complaint sent against or put against me just for opening up the door for her, right?
Yeah.
I'm really not interested in that.
Yeah, no, those things can be nasty, man. Breakups.
But I will like air it out though. So by saying this too, there's no restraining orders against me. There's no peace bonds. There's nothing like that, right?
That's good to know. To know. There's no restrictions. You're a free man. You can go wherever you want. Correct?
Yeah, I can go wherever I want. Some places I'm just not allowed to go to.
There you go. Well, Daniel, I want to say thank you. Is there anything else that you want to get off your chest to everybody that's tuning in and watching? Anything you want to say to those that are watching?
I'm going to say, if anybody has information on the kids, contact your local police department, call RCMP, or you call Crime Stoppers if you have any tips or any information. I would just like people to do that. People say don't raise awareness. All these interviews I've been doing raises awareness. this is going to raise awareness. They know there's a lot of people that don't speak out for the kids, and I know I'm not the best voice for them because, you know what I mean? I'm in the spotlight and I'm attacked so much, but it doesn't stop me from speaking out. It doesn't stop me from all it's speaking out. I mean, I'll get attacked as much as it takes.
Yeah. And it's unfortunate because some of the attacks are relentless without any evidence of anything.
Oh, the
And
amount of theories and speculation and conspiracy theories are just, it's unreal.
and most of them don't hold water. You know, once you start breaking them down and you start going, all
Yeah.
right, if this happened, then this would have had to have happened.
But
and
but
that would have
the
had to
the,
have
the
happened.
worst thing about all these conspiracy theories and, you know, speculation is they drive newcomers away from the case, right? Because I want to see newcomers come into the case because they have a fresh perspective and different angles that maybe, you know, weren't explored yet or not thought of. And that really stops them from trying to speak out because they're going to be, you know what I mean, they're going to get attacked as well, or shot down just because they want to learn. They want to learn on the case, and maybe they have a perspective that's actually valid, and they never get a chance to share because they're afraid of criticism.
That's true. That's true. You
And I
hear
think that's a big thing.
that is, it is. You know, when I've covered cases, I've been criticized by a lot for um following the evidence, so to speak. In the Brian Cover
Mhm.
case, I followed the evidence that pointed to the right guy. Obviously, he pled guilty, and I had a lot of his supporters who started their stuff, and then even here, there's a lot of people who are focused in on some of the things that aren't relevant anymore. Like
Yeah,
for
of
instance,
course.
when we talked about the kids in missing
Or they
school,
just completely make things up. Like
yeah,
there's
yeah,
nothing to do with drugs. There's nothing to do with, you know what I mean? They didn't get lost in the woods, and I'm going to be the first one to ever say that. I don't think they're in the woods whatsoever. I
yeah,
don't think they ever were. And I feel like a dummy for wasting the first day and a half searching my ass off for then my family and friends to sit down and sit me down and say to me, Daniel, we don't think they're in the woods. And then with all the resources poured in and all the searchers' time, and they got injuries, and the amount of helicopters and drones, dogs, the classified technology like the satellites, they didn't find anything.
yeah. That's
There's,
interesting that they didn't find a single thing outside of, well, they found the boot prints in the blanket.
yeah, but they still tell me that there's the only possible evidence.
Yeah,
And
and
the
there was
blanket
kids
in the
out there,
tree, I
right?
mean, I'll be the first to say that too. Investigators told me straight out when I asked them if it's planted, and they said yes.
And when
And
did
then I
they tell
didn't
you
push
that?
any further for any more information after that.
And when was that? Was that like recent? Was that
That
early
was on the
on?
day that they came and the investigators came and got all Jack and Lily's belongings from the house. So that would have been like a, a little over 3.5 months in, closer to the fourth month.
Hmm. Okay, so not too long
And
ago.
they know that for 100% because they reviewed all the bus footage, right, from the school buses.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. But that was the main thing I wanted to end it with, was just, you know, if you have any information, come forward. All the tips are going to be reviewed. I mean, there's probably the amount of tips, I mean, that they're actually telling you is nothing compared to, I mean, all the tips are, they have so many more tips than what they're actually telling you. We'll say it like that.
Interesting. Well, we'll
I
keep
mean, I was
covering.
told by investigators every time I change my profile picture on Facebook, they get hundreds of tips from that. Yeah. Yeah. So they joked around and they told me, you know, I said, I'm going to change my Facebook profile picture. And they said, Daniel, we warn you about that. We're going to get so many tips. They just get pages and pages of tips from emails and, you know, phone calls and stuff like that.
And you know, these folks, I think they're doing some sort of help. They're not helping the cause by doing that. All that is
No, they're not. They said they get a lot of tips from the States too. So, I mean, if you live in the States, how are you calling in a tip that you've seen the kids or you know anything about the kids? I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory that, you know what I mean, you may not have information that's valid.
Yeah. Well, Daniel, I want to thank you again for coming on
Yeah,
and
this is the
really
first
bringing that
interview
up.
I actually ever did, that's not actual a news outlet.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. If anything else pops up, maybe we can do something like this again. If they're found, hopefully we can, talk again
Yeah.
about that as well. You have yourself a good night, Daniel. and thank you again. I for one believe that you guys that you're not involved. I don't think Janie's involved. I think this is a really really unfortunate situation, and I hope the kids are found alive. I sincerely do.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I hope for that every day, and I hope investigators are coming close.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But they'll never tell me if they're coming close or not, right? So.
Well, no. They'll tell you when they got an answer. If
Yeah.
they find something or somebody and they got an arrest or they got an answer, they'll let you know when they got the answer, but they won't tell you when.
Yeah, that's another thing. I want to actually explain this too. This is still considered a missing persons case because there is no charges laid, or there's no suspects that are in custody. So right now it's still a missing persons case, and it's not a criminal investigation.
Yeah. No, it's still you're absolutely right. There's no evidence of a criminal offense for them to have it into a criminal investigation. Well, Daniel, thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and end it here. Everybody, thank you for tuning in. And so that was my interview with Daniel Martell. About an hour and 30 minutes or so. Let me know what you guys think. Hit the like button, subscribe button. I'm going to answer some of your questions and comments. I saw a few that were coming in. I know a lot of people were saying, and I saw this in my other clip of the interview that I dropped, where people were saying, "Oh, this is an indication of a lie. That's an indication of a lie. He's touching his face, touching this." What do you call passing a lie detector? 3 lie detector tests, polygraph tests. I would say that's an indication of somebody saying the truth as well. So, I mean, I would think that would be more reliable. So that was one of the big major clues, things that we learned. Like I said, there's a lot of things here to unpack. I know I saw a lot of people asking about the bag again, the trash bag. How did the guy know, or how did somebody know what they were going to be pulling out? That's making an assumption that the person that tore the bag knew what was inside of the bag. And then again, it was also the only bag that was inside of the trash can. And it had a hole in the side. And I've asked Daniel since the interview, and he told me that trash bag was in there for over a week. And so take that for what it is. When it comes to the blanket not being seen on camera, I struggle with the blanket, and I wonder if it wasn't that it wasn't there, or if it wasn't just that it wasn't captured. Meaning, is it possible that the cameras just didn't capture that area and they couldn't tell? Now, I would assume if they're coming up that roadway from a long distance away, given this location, you should be able to tell. But I found that interesting that it was after 4, that they found the blanket, but that the bus didn't capture it on its cameras. It's an interesting point. That's one of the things that I think the pink blanket bothers, a lot of people. It bothers me. It's going towards a direction of Daniel's uncle's house. But as I said in the interview, I don't see anybody going out there and deciding to plant evidence in the direction that they're going, or a direction of something that also points in, to them. And thirdly, when he mentioned about the footprints in the marsh and the muddy area and everything else, and they found kids' footprints. Now, he mentioned that there was a lot of kids in the area. And what he meant by that was, and it's in the documents, that there was some kids in the area that day searching. And so that those boot prints could have belonged to them. Now, if they're saying it could have belonged to them, obviously those little kids aren't disappeared. They're alive. They're around. They probably asked them, were you around the pipeline? And if the answer was yes, then it doesn't necessarily mean that those boot prints aren't Lily's and Jack's, but it also doesn't mean that it is. Now, if they said no, then there's a more higher likely opportunity that those are Lily and Jack's. Now, the one thing that I thought was interesting was the fact that he mentioned how muddy and how marshy and how bad it is in that area, that it would have picked up somebody else's shoe prints. So if somebody went out there to go plant them, where are their footprints? Where are those indentions into the ground? And so that's one of the the issues that I had with that. And even when I mentioned it to him, now Daniel thinks that there's some sort of possibility that Malaya may have had the kids taken by. I guess there's also some like rumors out there that Malaya had the kids taken by like CPS from the reservation. I don't subscribe to that agreement, that deal. It doesn't make any sense to me. And the main reason behind it is if I am a government or a reservation entity like the CPS that's on a reservation, and Malaya is coming, Malaya who has kids who aren't of status, they have no status at that time. They do now, but at that time they didn't. And they're coming with this elaborate means to get the kids out of there. Daniel isn't the biological father of the two children or anything like that. There's a lot easier way to do things to get the kids into their custody if that's what they wanted to do, a lot more of a legal way. And then plus, you also have the exhaustive search that's continuing to happen to this day with RCMP bringing in cadaver dogs from all over the place into the area, paying a tremendous amount of money to do that. So I highly doubt that that's the case. And like I've told Daniel before, Malaya passed lie detector test too. She cooperated. She has testified. She willingly went for the polygraph test. She turned in her phone. She allowed them to search her text messages and locations and things of that nature. So everything that they have done to clear Daniel, they've done to clear Malaya. And so I understand there's some red flags there. I understand there's some behaviors that a lot of people are looking at and saying that, well, I wouldn't have done that if I was in her shoes. And, I can't disagree with you guys on those things. I don't want to make another victim out of somebody, just because she acts differently than what people should assume the proper way to act is, especially if she had nothing to do with it. Because when it comes down to it, did she lawyer up? No. I mean, she has a lawyer, but that lawyer's for her custody issues. And so that's a family lawyer. But she hasn't lawyered up. She has not been uncooperative. She did not deny her phone. She did not force a warrant. She did not deny taking a polygraph test or doing any of those things. She's cooperated fully with who she needs to cooperate. There's no law or rule or reason that Malaya needs to speak to you or I or Daniel or anybody else about what's going on, or to any interviewer. What it really boils down to is she avoiding law enforcement and their investigation? And if that's the case, then you got yourself some points here. Then hey, you got the behavior mixed with the lack of cooperation. At that point, I'd be like, yeah, you guys, you probably need to start barking up that tree right there. But it doesn't appear to be the case in this situation. And so I don't know, what happened with those poor kids. I reserve the right to follow whatever law enforcement does. It's kind of like, and that's kind of what I do on this channel is I follow law enforcement, because what they do and what they don't do are equally very important to what to expect is what's going on in the case. And a prime example of that is in the Brian Koberger case. There was a time where law enforcement was just kind of searching in the area. They gave out a perimeter for an area for cameras and things of that nature. And during that search for cameras and whatnot, they located a picture of a white Elantra, a video of it traveling, passing a convenience store. And it was coming out of the direction that was leading from out of town. After that happened, that's when law enforcement were seen outside of Moscow, Idaho, in different towns, searching for camera footage and things of that nature. So what that told me, by the power of deduction, not psychic or anything like that, just deducing things, is that up until that point, they had no idea that the vehicle left. And so that makes, that allowed me to create a route from the victim's residence outside of town that avoided cameras, that ended up being the correct route that Brian Koberger ended up taking. Now, I wasn't able to predict the route because of I'm psychic or anything like that. I don't believe in that. I was able to predict the route because of the information of what police were doing and what they weren't doing and when they were doing the things that they were doing. So once you can figure out those things and say, all right, well, if they finally know at this point that there's a possibility that this guy left town, there must not be any footage of them leaving town. So I looked at how somebody would get out of town from that neighborhood and not get captured on footage. And I found a route. There was only one. So it wasn't very difficult to predict, but it was, you just had to look at what it is that law enforcement are doing, what they're not doing, what they are doing when they're doing it, and what has happened recently that forced the change in their action or behavior. And you can kind of determine the direction of law enforcement and what they're thinking, because at the end of the day, law enforcement is the ones who have majority of the evidence. They have all the evidence. They have all of the conversations with Daniel and Malaya. They know exactly what they did, if they searched her Pathfinder, if they didn't. All those things are documented, and they all know those things. You and I, not so much. And that's just the way it is, but because we don't know things doesn't mean that we should go and make victims out of other people. And I know a lot of people are going to say, well, things just don't add up. And my answer to that has always been, how do you expect them to add up when you don't have all the components to the math question? We don't know all the evidence. And so we might know one thing here, one thing there, one thing there. But if we only have 10 components of a 20 component question, you're only going to get half the answer, regardless of anything. Even if the answer is pretty clear, it's only half the answer. So let's answer some questions with that being said, and we'll go forward from there. So we got CB coming in with the newest membership. Thank you, CB. We have Lori coming in with $27.99. Thank you, Daniel, for your compassion and level head. One of my loved ones ever goes missing, you'll be the first. I appreciate that. I hope that ever happens. Never happens. Casey Marie comes in with membership for 10 months. Justin Farrell comes in. Thank you both for delivering, for doing the interview. Thank you so much. Mark says, why go in the garbage bin at all? Why take part of the blanket? Even if some random person unrelated to the crime, it still makes no sense. Well, this is why I find the neighbor pretty interesting, because he's a thief, and he's a thief that feeds a habit based on the documents that or the news articles that I have read referencing his arrests. He had arrests for drugs, he had arrests for being violent, and he had arrests for being a thief. And so somebody who needs to pay for a habit does not go beyond them to search the trash for things that they can fix, clean, sell. It's so that's why I find it to be interesting about the neighbor that lives within 500 feet or yards or so that complained about the loud vehicle, who didn't allow law enforcement to search his property, wasn't too keen of them being close to his property, from what I understand. So I couldn't imagine that he would be so keen on them being on his property. But that's why that could make sense. Now, could it have been a raccoon? And it just so happened the timing of it getting in that tree or whatever be just a coincidence? I think it's very unlikely, highly unlikely, but I mean, I guess it's a possibility. If somebody's going to plant something, and this is one of the things that I talked to Daniel after the interview, actually, if somebody's going to plant something, if you have your command center, which from what I understand, the command center was near where the neighbor was, the thief. If he had that and he went and took that blanket over there and planted it, it may get that command center. It may get those people that are around his yard away from his yard. Possibly. I mean, that could be the thought as to why you would go and plant it out there. Is if you have the command center, which from what I understand was fairly close to the neighbor's house, and you don't want them there anymore, maybe you go, if you used it, you go and plant it. When they had it, I mean, they would have had to have got it at the time of the abduction, which Daniel says that they've told him there's no sign of abduction. And he thinks that an abduction is by somebody that doesn't know the children. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think that a person that is related to the kids or knows the kids can abduct the kids. in my opinion, in my experience. And just because he's wrong or inaccurate about things doesn't mean he's a liar, doesn't make him a killer or anything like that. A lot of people are wrong about their opinions on the case. Doesn't mean that you guys are horrible people or killers or anything like that. It's just sometimes you're wrong. And I'm not necessarily saying he's wrong. I'm just saying I'm not subscribed to a lot of what that is. But the pink blanket is a big question. I'll be frank, off to bed with replay chin up, Dan, and thanks DT for giving him a respectable place to put awareness out. Hashtag Jack and Lilly. Thank you so much. Mike D comes in as a newest member. So does Sally and Olivia. Thank you guys. Thank you. $10 from It Was Me. Sirius Black, excellent interview, DT. You really nailed it and made us proud. You are always the voice of reason, and it is appreciated. Steelers fan trade me well. That's hilarious. Thank you, Sirius. I appreciate you so much. Let's see. C. Vanderhoof comes in with $1.99. Thank you. All right, so let's see. Why go in the garbage bin at all? Okay, yeah, we already got that one. Didn't Daniel once say, well, he has been sober since Malaya was pregnant with Meadow? That could be it. And I tried to get a date or a time frame out of him. I asked him a few times but at the end of the day, and like I said, I'm not interrogating him. I was just interviewing him. And so I wasn't going to ask him just softball questions. I asked him some pretty tough ones, in my opinion. And I tried to get some of the answers out, but at the same time, I wanted to be respectful to him. Why didn't you push for more info on the blanket? I mean, how much more info could he know? You know what I mean? I just, he confirmed it later. There's not so much, like he said, he never saw it in person. So, there's only so much I can question. Now, if I was talking to law enforcement or the persons who found it and or the investigators that have searched it or maybe done some forensics on it, that's a different story. I can ask those guys a bunch of different questions and kind of deep into it. We have to remember who we're talking to and the information that they possibly have and keep it focused in on the information that they do have. One of my biggest pet peeves when I've watched like other interviews and stuff like that is when people, will ask, well, somebody who's kind of close to the case from one point of view, ask them, well, in your opinion, from another perspective of something that they have no idea about. And then people get mad when they give their opinion on something they may not know completely. And if it comes out to be inaccurate, not necessarily a lie, just inaccurate because they weren't 100% certain of the thing, then people attack and target them for being inaccurate and call them liars and this, that, and the third. And so we don't want to do that here either. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, we'll keep it there. And Maggie comes in saying, thanks, Daniel. The best on YouTube. Love this channel. Great interview. Thank you. I appreciate that. You guys are awesome. I appreciate that. I'm aware of this case, actually. There's a case out here in Texas. Langdon. Can't remember it off the top of my head. I actually know the searcher, Dylan. He's a friend of mine. I'm going to see if I can get him back on. Well, he actually has never been on. We've talked about getting him on. He does some searches and stuff. He's part of, I've in my experience in law enforcement and also just real life, like I know the San Antonio SATX search and rescue founder, Nina. And then I know Dylan, who's been a part of other searches for missing persons out here. And there's a case out here that a guy, I can't remember his name for the life of me, but he was going back home to college and they found his vehicle on the side of the road and they found his clothes along the roadway and he just disappeared. And I believe there's a little bit of, there's some similarities to the Daniel Robinson case. That's kind of interesting. It's very interesting actually, but please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, guys, ring the notification bell. If you guys don't mind sharing the content out with, if you follow any of the Facebook groups or anything like that, I would really like to get some more viewership and more people coming to the channel for truth and about the case. And so I'd appreciate it if you shared this there. And, if you're watching this on the replay crew, if you're watching this on Spotify, give us a 5-star rating, like, share it as well. You guys have a great night. I'll be back on probably tomorrow night. So hit the like button and subscribe so you can see me then. Until tomorrow, guys, peace out. Bye.